Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Sichot HaRan shiur. I'm Epi Sussman. I'm very excited to give this. I give this shiur Monday morning to my chabura, but I know my rowdy chabura could sometimes, take away with all the interruptions, even though I love it. But we're going to try to record without, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. And if you like it and it's easy to listen to, please share it so that more people can enjoy it also. Okay. So, Sichot HaRan 184, very exciting. We're going to talk about tzaddikim in this shiur. Okay, so here we go. Sichos, so we'll just dive right in. Okay, I heard that the Rebbe once said, "As soon as a man enters and shakes my hand, I know his entire past history." He said this is alluded to in From Hand to Hand, his evil shall not be cleansed, from Mishlei. That is, as soon as he shook hands with the Rebbe, placing hand to hand in greeting, the evil was not cleansed. Everything was immediately revealed to the Rebbe. So the second the Rebbe shook hands with somebody, right away he would know tons about him, all his averos, everything he was up to. I myself also once heard something like this, Rebbe Nachman says. The Rebbe spoke in an offhand manner, as if it were very easy to know another's past history from beginning to end. The Rebbe said, you can do this wisdom alone without any special degree of spiritual perception. You can grasp much from the way a person speaks. If you know how to look, there are many other signs. You can also recognize a sexually immoral person by his nose from Tikkunei Zohar. You can tell whether or not a man's faith is pure by his belt. There are many other such signs. There are many cases where the Rebbe told people things they had done when they came to him. So this is a very special and amazing phenomenon that people have experienced with tzaddikim. I know tons of stories. I personally had stories where I would go to people, like where I would go to a tzaddik and then they tell me something about myself or tell me something that, like some type of like Ruach HaKodesh. So Rebbe Nachman is saying here that he had this gift and he was able to look at somebody and tell them and see basically their whole history from beginning to end. There are stories about the Arizal as well, that people would go to the Arizal and he'd be able to tell them exactly what their tikkun was in their lives, whatever they needed to accomplish. So tzaddikim have this special power, and I wanted to segue into this and talk a bit more about tzaddikim. So just to backstep a little bit, because I know it's, people have like all different opinions about having faith in tzaddikim and believing in tzaddikim. So just like short history lesson, basically this was always in our tradition to like really, believe in tzaddikim and have faith in tzaddikim and go to tzaddikim. But since the whole fiasco with Jesus, Yeshka, the Jews took like a back step with like the whole trusting in a rabbi, Messiah thing. Like they basically got freaked out. I'm sure many people have, heard, many people get uncomfortable with the whole tzaddikim concept concepts because of this. I also want to mention like that, but really like this has, I just want to like say again that really this has been part of our history for many, many years. Even Shmona Esrei, we start off right away, with mentioning Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. We talk about Moshe Rabbeinu in the Yud Gimel Ikarim, right? That we believe in Moshe Rabbeinu. Without the tzaddikim, without like even in the Gemara, like learning all the halachos, like without this reference of tzaddikim, like our religion would be very confusing. Let's put it that way. Tzaddikim really have helped us and guided us along the way. And this is a concept that's always been in our tradition. Okay, so just before we segue into the next piece, the next Sichot HaRan piece that I wanted to bring in, I also want to mention that I heard from Reb Gerzi, who lives in Merapi Chemesh, that he says that the beginning of this, of Ruach HaKodesh, is actually just holding space for a person. And I thought that was interesting because Rebbe Nachman says here in this Sikha the Rebbe said, you can do this wisdom alone without any special degree of spiritual perception. You can grasp much from the way a person speaks. And he also says someplace in this piece, like, that it's actually easy. Like, it's actually easy to see into a person's neshama. Like, you don't need some high level or anything. So as I mentioned, Reb Gersey also, like, he seems to say, like, the first step is holding space. So what is holding space for a person? It's really just to do deep listening, I would say, without any judgment or without trying to fix or without trying to control. That is holding space, and Reb Gersey says that that's actually the first step in Ruach HaKodesh. So I thought that to be pretty interesting. Okay, so now here we go, deep dive. Ready? So we're going to do Sichot HaRan 22. This is probably one of my favorite sichos. One of my favorite sichos. It is very good to be worthy of being close to a true tzaddik. Regarding the messianic age, it is written, the ends of the earth will be grasped, and the wicked shall be shaken from it, from Eov. However, one who is attached to a true tzaddik can hold on to him and not be cast off. Holding on to the tzaddik, he can remain firm. So I love this imagery. Like, imagine like a piece of paper and like the whole world is on it. And at the end of days, the messianic age, which we're all in, right? It's just gonna be shaking and chaos and crazy. Most people are gonna fall from it. Who's ever attached to evil, they're gonna fall from this piece of paper. But the people who are attached to the true tzaddik, they can hold firm. And I guess I find this so amazing, and I love this so much just because, like, this is what it is, you know? Like, I think many of us feel the craziness of this day and age and how fast-paced everything is and how busy everything is, and like, if you feel like you're losing your mind sometimes, or I'll speak for myself, I feel like I'm losing my mind sometimes. So this imagery of just like holding on for dear life, like, I feel like that is what the Sfarim do for us, you know? That is what the true tzaddikim do for us. Like, they were able to like ground and actually hold firm. So very powerful sikha. Okay, so now I want to take this into Likutei Moharan. This is an amazing Likutei Moharan about believing in tzaddikim and having faith in tzaddikim and seeing the power of tzaddikim. So here we go. Okay. The orach tzaddikim. Again, this is Likutei Moharan 133. Okay. The orach tzaddikim, the path of the righteous, is like a shining light growing even brighter, as the sun does until noon, from Mishlei. Now, Rebbe Nachman's going to explain. The sun itself radiates in its place consistently, whether in the morning or the middle of the day. The obstacle is only because of the earth, which obstructs between people and the sun. This is why the light does not spread out all that much at the beginning of the day, but a little at a time until it has spread across the earth. Right? So Rebbe Nachman's saying the sun is a constant. It's always shining. It's never not shining. But we look outside and we're like, oh, the sun set, the sun is rising. It wasn't it's like as if it wasn't there before. But the sun is a constant and it's always been there. It's just because the world is turning that we view it as the sun is not here or there. But the truth is that the sun is always there, right? The same is true of the tzaddik. He himself always shines. The obstacle is only because of the receiver. In other words, the obstacle is because of the earth, which obstructs, for example, this world. For people are submerged in this world and so are unable to receive the light of the tzaddik. So Rabbi Nachman's saying here, so the same is true of a tzaddik. The tzaddik is like the sun in this example, and he's always shining. He's always like tapping into something super kadosh and holy and special. But because of the observer, the perceiver, the earth, we don't see it. It doesn't look that way. And Rebbe Nachman's saying, like, I love this line, for people, the last line that I read, for people are submerged in this world and so are unable to receive the light of the tzaddik. Like, This is our reality here. We're submerged in this world. We're in the muck of this world. We're in the materialism of this world, in the dirt of this world, which is obviously all part of Hashem's plan and the way it's meant to be and the way we're meant to be. We're meant to be material. It wasn't an accident, you know? And Rebbe Nachman saying, like, but the truth is that this sticky, like, we're like stuck in the mud, and this stuck in the mud, stickiness in the mud is actually what like messes up our perception to see the light of the Tzaddik. This is the point of which is taught in the Talmud on the verse, Zechariah, a folded scroll. When it is folded, when it is peeled, we find therefore that the entire world is like one span in 3,200 of the Torah. Thus, the Torah is very great and broad. However, the small span, which is the world, bars one's vision and prevents one from seeing the Torah's great light. Even though this world in its entirety is no bigger than a small span vis-a-vis the Torah, which is very great and broader than the sea, from Eov. But there is an apparent... Okay, so Rebbe Nachman saying it's the same thing with the Torah, right? Like the Torah is so great and so tremendous and so huge. And I mean, we know like it was the blueprint for the world. Like the world just came after. The world's a detail that came after. First it was the Torah. Like that's how magnificent and tremendous it is. But Rebbe Nachman saying it's the same thing. Like the earth, like us being, meaning the perceiver being like submerged in the earth, like it just doesn't look that way. It looks like the earth is the main thing and the Torah is secondary. Now Rebbe Nachman continues, but there is an apparent difficulty. How can such a small thing as this how can such a small thing as this obstruct and block out such a great thing, which is a few thousand times its size? Right? Like all this doesn't really make sense. Like if the Torah is so big and the earth is so small and the Tzaddik is so big, but we're just, the earth is so small and our perception is so off. Like why? Doesn't make sense. How is this happening? For all of this world is in its entirety is very small vis-a-vis Torah, which is thousands of times greater than it. However, it is like the following example. So now Rebbe Nachman is going to explain why this is. He's going to give an example. A small coin, if held in front of your eyes, will prevent you from seeing a large mountain. Even though the mountain is thousands of times greater than the small coin, nevertheless, because the coin stands in front of one's eyes, it therefore blocks out one's vision to the point where one cannot see a thing many times larger than it. It's an amazing example. So I have a key here, not a coin. But like if you put the key or the coin in front of your eye, like you can't see anything behind it. And Rebbe Nachman saying here, like if the coins are in front of your eyes, then of course you can't see this tremendous mountain that's in front of you and a gazillion times bigger than the tiny coin. And that's kind of, and now Rebbe Nachman's going to continue, but that's kind of how we're seeing the world here. The same is true when a person arrives in and comes to this world. He remains submerged there in futility of the world, so that it seems to him that there is nothing better than this. This world, small and significant, prevents him from seeing the great and lofty light of Torah, which is thousands of times greater than it, as explained. Rebbe Nachman's teaching us something amazing here. He's saying that bottom line is that we come to this world and we're like submerged here, and it's just this world becomes our reality. We don't realize the illusion that the world is that this world is placing, that this world holds, and it's like this small coin. It's like this ridiculous futile, right, coin, just like that we put so much emphasis on and so much importance on, and really like it's nothing. We're all here for such a short time. I was like walking the other day by this lake, and I saw these like huge mansions overlooking this lake outside of Yerushalayim, and I was thinking, I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe one day I'll be able to get that. And then I like took a deep breath and I'm like, yeah, like I forgot, like it's so ridiculous. We're only here. This is all temporary. We're only here short term, but like the illusion and the glue and like the sticky mud is so thick in this place that we think that this is it and this is everything. It's like our eyes, even though we might think like our eyes are here to help us see, like I think our eyes are actually here to fool us, to like make things look a certain way that's like not actually the reality. And the tzaddikim, thank you, Rebbe Nachman and the many other tzaddikim, they're trying to show us what the real reality is, like what's really happening, not what we think is happening, but the truth behind the illusion and the truth behind all this darkness and the truth behind everything that we think and see. Okay, so let's read on a bit more. Okay, this is exactly the example of the sun, that the earth obstructs one from seeing the sun's great light, even though the sun is many times larger than the earth. The sun too, it's a gazillion times bigger than the earth, but like, again, we think the earth this is where it's at, you know? It is like the example mentioned above. This is the meaning of the opening verse. The path of the tzaddikim is like a shining light, literally. Just as the sun always shines, the obstacle being the earth, which obstructs it, even though the earth is small vis-a-vis the sun, as in the above example, so too the tzaddikim always shine. It is only that the earth, this world, obstructs one from seeing their great light. Thus, although their light, the tzaddikim's light, is very great, and this world in its entirety is small and very negligible vis-a-vis their great light, even so, it obstructs and prevents one from seeing their light. So this whole illusion blocks us from seeing the truth. This is like the previous example of the coin. All this is because the world stands in front of his eyes and blocks him, such that he cannot see the light of the Torah and the tzaddikim, which is thousands of times greater than it. However, if he removes the small obstruction from in front of his eyes, that is, he diverts his gaze away from the world, and instead of looking at the world, raises his head and lifts his eyes to look above the world, which obstructs and blocks, he will then merit seeing the great and the lofty light of the Torah and the tzaddikim. So Rebbe Nachman's giving an eitzah here. He's saying, like, even though this small obstruction is tiny, right? But if it's right in front of and it's not to blame, God forbid, you know, like it's just the way of the world again. But like when it's put right in front of your eyes and we put this tiny thing right in front of our eyes, then of course it blocks everything. So Rebbe Nachman's saying, what's the eitzah? The eitzah is to look up. Like, look up and remember Hashem, and look up and remember the great lofty light of the Torah and the tzaddikim. For in truth, their light is thousands and tens of thousands of times greater than the world and its futilities, as mentioned. It is only that this world stands in front of his eyes and does not allow him to divert his gaze so as to look upwards to the light of the Torah and the tzaddikim. This is exactly like the aforementioned example of the small coin which stands in front of the eyes and obstructs him from seeing a large mountain. Yet he can easily remove the coin. Rebbe Nachman saying, it's not hopeless. You can easily remove this coin from in front of his eyes and immediately see the mountain which is greater than it. It is exactly the same with regard to the world and the Torah. It takes only a minor shift, Rebbe Nachman saying, for him to remove the world from in front of his eyes. He will then be worthy of seeing the great light of the Torah and the tzaddikim, which illuminates in all the worlds with a very great light. Understand this well. Similarly, I heard it said in the name of the Baal Shem Tov, alas, alas, the world is filled with amazing and awesome wonders and lights, but the small hand stands in front of the eyes and prevents them from seeing great lights. So I love this last line from the Baal Shem Tov, right? The world is filled with amazing and awesome wonders and lights, but the small hand stands in front of the eyes and prevents us from seeing the great light. And like, I think that's, we've learned in other Rebbe Nachman Torahs also, like the Shefa and the Nisim, and everything is always coming down. It's just like a matter of our perception, of really seeing it the way it's meant to be seen. So I just want to give us all a bracha that we should all be zocha to really like see through the illusion of life and get closer to what's really happening and the reality, the godly reality, the das. And Mir Hashem, soon we should see the coming of Mashiach. Okay, thank you so much for listening. And like I said, if you liked it, please share. That way I'll know to keep on recording after the Chabura. Okay, thank you.